We are Ham Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Freddie Mac, your ham radio Crusader. I'm here on the Crusader Castle front porch in an Oklahoma summer, and you could probably hear the cicadas because they're talking to me right now. Well, it's been a little over a year since the release of AllStarLink 3, and I want to thank everybody at AllStarLink for giving me the opportunity to create that initial video on how to install it. And I thought the other day, hey, you know what? It's been a year. I've learned a few tips and tricks as far as the install goes, and I have my GitHub page now and my multi-app install script file, so it could help you all out. So I thought I'd create a new install and setup video for AllStarLink 3 for those first time setups. Couldn't hurt. So hope this helps you out. Ham on, y'all. Take a look.
Okay, this is how we do it. Again, we're going to go to repo.allstarlink.org/images/pi and find our latest image of the Raspberry Pi. Way back, it was a lot smaller number than this, but we're on .18 now. So I'm going to hit the one that says .18.image.xz and begin the download. And when that's done, we'll be right back. Okay, the image is downloaded, so I'm going to go over to the Raspberry Pi imager and choose device, and in this instance I'm going to be doing a Raspberry Pi 02W, but you choose the device that you are working on. Raspberry Pi 5, Pi 4, you could probably even do a Pi 3. I'm doing a Pi 02W for this example. Then you're going to come over here and choose your operating system, scroll all the way to the bottom and hit use custom. And then I'm going to navigate to where I downloaded just now that image. And right there it is, AllStar3-ARM64-3.0.18.img.xz. Hit open. And then next I'm going to choose the storage, which is the SD card that I've inserted into my computer. And as you can see, I have 2 drives plugged into my computers, and this is where you want to be very careful. Make sure you've got exclude system drives checked so that you don't format your hard drive. But I'm going to be using a generic mass storage class media. It's a little micro SD card. It's a 32. It says 31.9, but yeah, it's a 32. I'm going to click that, hit next. Now I'm going to edit settings because it's saying, would you like to apply OS customization settings? Well, actually I do, but I want to change them first. So I'm going to call this one node 576.339.local. I want to use the username of KD5FMU because that's how I roll. I'm going to set a super secret password here. Yes, it's temporary. And I'm going to put in the Wi-Fi credentials, access point credentials for my home Wi-Fi. The SSID that the devices will see is called Mandalore, and it has a password. And it's for the United States land country, so it gets all the frequencies right. And then I click this one and set the America/Chicago time zone, because that's the time zone that I'm in. Up here under the Services tab, I make sure Enable SSH is checked. Use password authentication is the radio button that I use. And the Options tab, I make sure all 3 are checked. Hit Save. Now I can hit Yes. All existing data on the generic mass storage class media will be erased. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, because that's why I'm here. And then my machine requires me to put in my password so that it makes sure, hey, you're erasing something, you should pay attention here. And then we're just going to let it write. Okay, now that it's finished, we can hit continue and eject our micro SD card. The Raspberry Pi Zero and fired up. Okay, I think it's had enough time to boot up, so we're just going to open a new tab and go node 576.339.local, hit enter, and let's see if it's touched the network yet. Sometimes it takes a while on that first boot because it's trying to do some updates, trying to find its way in the world, and it's not always going to be there on the first try. But now it says your connection is not private, so it's like, hey, I see something there. Let's allow it because we know what it is. And voila, here it is, our landing page for the ASL-3 image. We have our web admin portal. This will take us to the cockpit where we can configure our node and adjust settings from time to time. The node links button, which will take us to our AllMon3 page. And this ASL manual right here is your friend because it'll take you to a website that is full of good old-fashioned AllStarLink version 3 information. Here's the AllStarLink website, the forum, and the GitHub. All kinds of stuff. And if you would like, please donate to the whole project. This is an open source project and it's all volunteers, folks. So anything you could contribute to help will only make AllStarLink 3 better, faster, and last longer. New features probably coming in the future. You never can tell. So nonetheless, we're going to start with web admin portal. And it's going to say, hey, your connection's not private. Yeah, I know where it's coming from. So I'm just going to allow everything. And this is where I'm going to put in that login information I put in the Raspberry Pi imager. And here we go. And the first thing you're probably going to see is this up here, turn on administrative access. You're going to want to do that. Hit close and just take a look around. You've got session information over here. As long as you've selected overview, you can come over to this sub menu. You can hit reboot or shut down. This is a nice little message about the command line interface. This is the health, the usage of your CPU and memory. Some configuration information. You can edit this host name that we used to get here. And here's some information about the device that you're using, the Pi. Or you could be using a computer. This is a Raspberry Pi 02W version 1.0, and it has some information about there. And I can hit view hardware details and see even more information, but it doesn't really look like much more, does it? Anyway, you've got your logs here. Anyway, storage information about your micro SD card. It's an MMC, 31 gig with another partition. Any NFS mounts that will show up here, storage logs, and networking is my favorite because this is where I come to find out, hey, 1.164 is the IP address that it has on the local network. I could type that in and hit enter and go to this same landing page that we used, node 576.339.local. So there's 192.168.1.164. I can open a new tab, hit enter, and boom, I'm at the same place. But we used the host name, so that got us there anyway. There's some network logs, some accounts to log into this cockpit, and KD5FMU is the only one right now. Now, one of my favorites since ASL-3 inception is this edition of Wi-Fi Manager, because we configured our Wi-Fi, pre-configured right there, the Mandalore SSID, but hey, I've got a hotspot, so let's scan for Wi-Fi networks, and there's some other access points that I have right there. But let's just say it's not showing up right now. I also have a mobile hotspot called Crusader Mobile, and I know the password for it. And I'm going to, boom, I'm going to save it, and it saves it right up here. I also have one called Crusaders Mobile, same password. Boom, it's saved up here. I also have one called Crusaders Mobile 2, same password. Boom. So now when my node boots up and it's looking for an access point to connect to and it can't see the pre-configured one, it's going to start looking for one of these others. And when it finds it, it's going to connect to it, and I'm golden. Let's say you're traveling to your mom's house 100 miles away and you know her SSID, the broadcasted ID that you would connect to for Wi-Fi, and you know the password. You can put it in here, hit save network, and when you get to mom's, you can reboot your node and it'll connect right up and you'll have it online again. So neat little addition. Thank you guys at AllStarLink. So you can also do software updates here, and as soon as you check it, it's going to look for some software updates. So we're just going to let it do that for a second. And sometimes you're just going to get this, because this is a Raspberry Pi 02W, and it doesn't always like to get updates right off the bat, especially on the first try. So let's go to terminal and type in sudo apt update. Okay, we have 108 packages that can be upgraded. It's probably going to choke this poor little thing, but we'll give it a try nonetheless. I speculate we'll probably get an error. The Raspberry Pi Zero 2W, like I said, not a lot of computing power, but once you get past the initial install, it does fairly good as long as you don't overload it with too much to do. So we're going to do a sudo apt upgrade -y. This just says, you know, when it asks you, hey, do you want to install this, yes or no, it's just going to hit yes for us anyway. Okay, and this is where I usually get this waiting for cache lock. Could not get a lock on the front end. This happens sometimes with the Pi Zero 2W. So I'm sorry, I hit Control-C to stop all that. And I'm going to reboot the node. Sudo reboot. We'll be right back. Okay, so we've rebooted the node, so I'm just going to do so I want to type sudo apt upgrade -y, and let's just see if it takes right off. There's some old headers in there that it says I can remove. We're just going to let it work, and we'll come back when it's done. Okay, we've rebooted after our updates, and we're back to our terminal session. Now, some of you may ask, why didn't we just set up the node first and then do the updates? Well, it's for a first-time install, it's just easier to do the updates first, then set up your node. That way you don't risk breaking your setup. You don't know what changes may have come along in those updates. So it's always good to get them up and out of the way at first. So now we can type in sudo ASL-menu and go into our AllStarLink setup menu. So first place, we're going to go to Node Settings, AllStar Node Setup menu, and type in our node number. For this instance, it's going to be 576.339. And the password currently for that node is password 2024. Yes, this is going to be a radio-less setup for the purposes of this video, and then we'll do some radio setup as well in another video, but I wanted to show you these things first, little tips and tricks for the first time install. So for this one, it's a hub node with no radio interface. If you were doing a Soooo Pi hat or a hotspot radios or a personal build with a Toads DI, whatever, I would choose half duplex node with telemetry tones. And we can still do that here, even if you don't have a radio hooked up. So let's choose half duplex node hotspot with telemetry tones. If you don't want telemetry tones, you would choose number 2. If you're doing a repeater setup that's full duplex, you would do that here, and so on, and so on, and so on. But for this one, let's just go ahead and do half duplex node hotspot with telemetry tones. And you have the choice, simple USB or USB radio. USB radios for more advanced radios that you build for an AllStar node. If you're doing a Soooo Pi hat or a hotspot radios duplex module or USB, whatever, it's easier for the first time user to just go with simple USB. Enter your call sign, and then we have to restart the asterisk server, which is at the heart of AllStarLink. Okay, and then it's going to take you right into your Tune CLI menu. It's the tuning command line interface. But since we don't have a radio attached to this one, it's really not going to make any difference. But if you are using a Soooo Pi hat or a hotspot radios node, you can use setting number 2 to set your audio levels and setting number 3 for your transmit levels if you need to. But the first 2 things I would worry about is letter I, and leave it at USB invert, and then letter J and change USB invert from its current setting of USB invert to number 1, the word no. And now you can see that the word no is selected, and most times you're going to be able to transmit and receive right after you've done this one. And then it's just a matter of getting your audio settings correct. So for now, we're going to hit W to write that setting and 0 to exit this menu. And then the first thing you want to do after making any changes is restart the asterisk server. All right, so once we've done that, you want to consider updating your asterisk AMI password, and that is your asterisk password. Now, you don't have to change it, but you do need to write it down. You will need it later for Supermon or Supermon Next Generation. Just something to think about. So I change it to something that I will remember. That's a lot right there to remember, but don't make it easy either. Don't just put in password 2024 or something like that. Make it complex, but make it something that you will remember. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to change it to password 2024. And then it's like, hey, you better change. You need to restart asterisk, so we're going to do that. All right, second thing you need to consider is your IAX port. Now, it's default at 4569, and what this does, this is the port that you will forward and open, basically, in your home router to allow incoming connections to your AllStarLink node. So if your buddy in another state wants to connect to your node and you don't have 4569 forwarded to your home node, then they're not going to be able to connect to you. So leave it at 4569 if it's the only node on your network. But if you have several, you want to give them each a different UDP port here, IAX port, I should say, in the UDP setting. So you can change it here or you can leave it as default. And for me, I'm going to change it to 4577. And yep, got to restart asterisk once again. So we're back to the main menu and we're going to back out to the command line. We're going to hit clear, and we need to do some basic setup for AllMon 3, which is the dashboard that comes installed with AllStarLink version 3. So we're going to do cd etc AllMon 3. We need to get that initial password out that is in the setup and change it and make it ours. We need to change the username and password for the AllMon 3 dashboard, and we do it like this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to run, if you hit Command V on a Mac or Control V on a Windows machine, that will give you the paste feature at the command line cursor. So sudo allmon3-passwd space -- delete space AllMon 3. This will delete the username account that is called AllMon 3. And guess what? It's not there anymore because they changed it. So we don't have to do that anymore. But we do need to create a new password. So let's do this. Before, we would do sudo space allmon3-passwd space admin, but I don't recommend setting your initial user account as admin. So I'll go with my call sign, but you call it whatever you want. And then it's going to say, hey, what's the password for that? Well, for the purposes of this video, it's password 2024, and then we're going to type it in again, and our new password is in place. So once you've entered in that new password, we've got to restart the AllMon 3 service. So we're going to do a sudo systemctl restart AllMon 3. And now we can come back up here to our landing page, hit node links, and there's our AllMon 3 monitoring dashboard, and we should be able to log into it. And we are successful. And now we can control our node. So if I wanted to connect to the parrot, hit execute, and boom, we are online and we have a functioning AllStarLink version 3 node. Just don't have a radio connected to this one yet. Okay, so now you can log out of that, but I tell you what, let's do. I don't want to leave it logged into the parrot node, so since I'm logged in, I can hit this little X right here by the node, and it's chosen disconnect for me and the node number, so all I have to do is hit execute, and we are disconnected from the node. And then I'm going to log out of AllMon 3. Well, now you have enough information to do a basic install and setup of your ASL-3 node and get things going as it should. Now, I'll do another install with an actual radio attached, but I didn't want to get too far into that because there's so many different kinds of radios that you can attach to an AllStar 3 node, to any AllStarLink node as far as that goes. Now we'll move on into the second video. I'm going to show you how to do an install of Supermon Next Generation.
Supermon 7.4 has been covered and will be included in this series, but those videos have already been made. This is a rewrite that Jory, W5GLE, down there in Texas, made a really good port over from Supermon 2, and we call it Supermon Next Generation. He did an excellent job on it. And it's very customizable and security conscious. So that'll be in the next video, and we'll continue on with our AllStarLink 3 training series. Appreciate y'all coming by. This is Freddie Mac, your ham radio crusader, saying 73s, wishing all the good signals to be yours, and ham on, y'all.